I was at a comedy show yesterday, and I know some people will judge me, but it was Louis C.K. I don't know if you know.
I've seen him several times.
He's got a controversial
I've
history.
seen him several times, yeah.
And the opening act was a comic from New York. I can't remember his name. And he's talking about Grand Rapids, and he's talking about how pretty, Grand Rapids is. And he's like, yeah, it kind of reminds me of, Utah and the Mormons. And then he used a phrase that I have not been able to get out of my mind. He called it an enclave of purity. And it made me chuckle. And, when you were just talking right now about, they think that it can't happen here. Yes, they do not think that it can happen here.
I know. This is Two J's in a Pod, by the way. I'm Mary Ellen Murphy.
Buried the lead there.
Yeah.
I'm Sarah Leach.
Sorry, but, I don't, it's not these, this is the only country where school shootings happen, okay?
Yeah.
Wake up. There's a problem here. I'm disgusted. I'm just disgusted. I'm disgusted. All right, let's talk a little national news. He's going to expand the National Guard deployments beyond Washington, D.C., New York, Chicago, L.A.
And if you think that Detroit's not going to make that list and possibly Grand Rapids, you're very naive.
I was wondering about that. Okay.
That's just next.
You really think Detroit?
Oh, yeah.
Detroit and Grand Rapids.
I mean, he has a pattern, where he talks about where crime is highest. And I was talking to a relative about this yesterday. Where crime is the highest, where the most people are. Mm-hmm. And then you also have a hierarchy, like a caste system, right, where you have a concentration of people who are economically challenged. And sometimes people might be perpetrators, but they're also victims. Wow. Like, think about that in terms of crime statistics. And so when you're looking at just one data set, then you can justify lots of things. Just because crime happens somewhere doesn't mean that it's like a scourge on society. It means that you have complicated problems and you have a big concentration of people. When you have more people, you have more problems.
Right.
That's just the nature of life.
You're right. Now he's threatening federal sex education funding to dozens of states. 46 states, U.S. territories, Washington, D.C., on notice to remove all references to gender ideology from their personal responsibility education program within 60 days. The Teen Pregnancy Prevention and Sexual Health Initiative was created by the Affordable Care Act. States stand to lose more than $81 million in federal grant funding if they do not make the requested changes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, let me tell you about sex education. My mom gave me a green box. It said modest on it. Modest.
Oh, dear.
Oh, yeah. Here you go.
What was in the box?
What am I supposed to do with this? I opened the box. There's pamphlets.
Oh my God, what's in the box?
There's pamphlets. There's an actual belt.
No.
Oh yeah.
No.
Oh yeah.
A chastity belt? Are you serious?
Not a chastity belt. A belt. Okay.
Maybe we should be more specific.
A belt for the sanitary napkins.
Oh yeah.
And the pads were as long as as my leg. I mean, what the hell?
It's like a canoe. Yeah.
Thanks, Mom. I had 4 older brothers. I don't think she knew what to do with me. I'm just like, what do you want me to do? I was embarrassed by my body, everything.
Yeah.
When I had kids, it was not. We had open conversations and all was well. It wasn't this. Here's a box.
Well, my mother was a nurse.
Right.
And I probably had the conversation a little bit too early because she sat me and my stepbrother down, and I think I was 7 and he was 8. Mm-hmm. And we started with the book, Where Do I Come From? Mm-hmm. And it's, it's cartoons and it doesn't get too graphic, but it kind of gives you like the general gist of, like babies aren't delivered by storks kind of thing.
Right.
But we were just open and frank about those conversations. And I think about everyone that I know. And I would say that probably 75% of the people that I come into contact with or call friends and family probably would not feel comfortable having that kind of a frank conversation with their kids.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, people are just so, weirded out. And it's just like, but the consequences are so grave. I mean, I've got 2 daughters. I've got a very sweet summer child son. Mm-hmm. They need to know what this stuff is and what the consequences of their decisions are so that they don't get into a situation where they, have a kid when they're a kid and
exactly,
catch some sort of disease or something.
Not just having kids, diseases, all of that stuff. all of that stuff, Yeah, I just thought.
Or, like having a son, what if he's 18 and he really takes an interest in a 16, 17-year-old girl? I mean, 2 years difference is one thing when you're in your 20s. It's a different thing when you're teens.
Yeah.
There's laws. You have to make sure that they're aware of those kinds of things.
I know we touched on autism last time that we talked, and you had spoken about how it was it took 20 years to research.
To debunk that research,
Okay, with vaccines, RFKJ is set to announce causes of autism by September. You want to weigh in on that?
Well, I'm sure that the poet laureate of U.S. health definitely will just, be able to just settle the science for us.
Yeah.
And I say that with every ounce of facetiousness in my body.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
I'm just
so disgusted today.
I don't take people who don't, just because somebody is confirmed by the Senate and they happen to be the U.S. Secretary of a department, and I am still a citizen, and I can still look at that official and say, I don't think that you're qualified to make these decisions or to weigh in on how I should live my life.
Right.
And I just do not accept that he has any kind of relevant experience or knowledge that is better than what, accepted science has been for, 100 years.
Yeah. Unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Let's move on to local. 5 candidates for the Ottawa County Administrator, am I correct?
2 alternates.
I didn't know about the 2 alternates.
Yeah, you didn't watch that ballot process? Boy, that was wild.
What was that all about? Snooze
yikes.
fest. But then again, it is a county meeting. It's not supposed to be that exciting for
I
us.
know, I know.
They're just doing their job. So.
Well, I think that the thing that struck me is just bizarre is that, again, we saw the whole process where we have a bunch of candidates and now we need to narrow it down. So, the board majority attempts to go into closed session so that they can discuss the candidates freely, and kind of see where people are landing, and maybe we can narrow this down. And again, we saw the Ottawa Impact far-right minority, along with a Democrat, Doug Zylstra, vote against going into closed session. Now, they have different reasons for doing it, but really the OI folks are saying, well, we want to discuss this transparently. But then they proceed to a ballot process where no one knows who any of the candidates are, and they're just assigned numbers so that we don't identify who the candidates are, and then we select them from there. How is that more transparent? You're not winning any transparency medals by doing that. It's just dumb. I mean, good for you for the moral win. It just, I don't know. And after the entire process was over, one of the OI commissioners, Allison Miedema, says that she was thankful that she had meetings with Teeple. So they were talking about who they wanted anyway in private.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That is openly acknowledged. And then she sort of took a dig at him at the end to say, I don't really think that having on the agenda, if this ballot process didn't work out, they basically put a backup plan where they were going to form an executive committee via the board majority, and then they were going to move the process along because they don't want a third failed search. And so she took a dig at him saying, I didn't appreciate that threat on the agenda.
I heard that. If
we didn't do this. And I remember tweeting, because I still live tweet these meetings for whoever's out there. And she said, all of this. And I said, just so that everyone knows, this is exactly what Ottawa Impact did in September of 2024. They didn't even ask anybody. They just formed a committee, put all of their own members on it, and then just did whatever they wanted to, be damned the minority that was on the board at the time.
How quickly
and she was the vice president of that committee. I was just like, what are we doing? Like, I guess hypocrisy is just missing in her dictionary.
I don't understand you don't have to support Donald Trump to be a county commissioner.
Right.
Or an administrator.
Right.
You don't have to.
Well, that's a great point, because before all of this with the ballot and the failed closed session vote, the ballot, the alternates, the very first thing that they did regarding the administrator search was they went around the horn and they all listed the traits that they wanted to see in the county, the administrator candidates.
Right.
And Joe Moss went first. Now, he's the president of Ottawa Impact. He's the former board chair under the OI 2-year era majority. And one of the first things out of his mouth was that he wanted a Christian moral person, somebody that led. I mean,
Is that legal? Is that legal to even throw that out there?
You're not supposed to list that as a determining factor because you could be accused of religious discrimination.
Oh my gosh!
Right.
Oh my, unbelievable! That's just
Christian moral character, I think, is the way that he framed it.
I got nothing to say.
And I'm just like, what are we doing? I mean, it's fine to hold those as your personal views, but to just declare it
That's
openly.
what I'm saying. Your personal views, that's fine, but you don't have to be a Trump supporter to be an effective county administrator.
But that's the whole point, is that they don't like the separation of church and state. They want that line to be blurred because they feel like the founding fathers would agree with them that there's an over division there.
Then maybe we need to create new communities. No, maybe we need to create new communities. They can have their own radio stations, their own news outlets, and they can live in la pretend land.
Kind of sounds like Divergent, like that post-apocalyptic series of YA novels, Divergent, where Chicago was just like this giant community city.
I mean, because that's where we're at this point. I mean, maybe you need to live in your own little community with your own TV and radio stations and your own newspapers, and you can believe your narrative with your schools and everything else in your churches, and the rest of us will live in reality.
Well, I mean, you can do that if you want to, but then you don't have all of the amenities that modern society has to offer. So you want it both ways.
Exactly.
Right.
That's the problem that I have with
to go,
the far right.
Yeah, you have to go live in a bunker somewhere.
They
like
want
off
it
the
both
land.
ways.
Right.
They trash the woman in line using a bridge card. They trash her, but criticize her if she chooses to terminate a pregnancy.
Yeah.
You want it both ways, and you can't have it both ways. And I'm tired of it. I'm disgusted. I'm sorry. Another school shooting today?
Yeah.
Come on.
I don't really see much end in sight. I mean, even when Democrats are in charge, they don't know what to do with the issue either.
I know.
I mean, I have a sense. I mean, right now we have, kind of what is modern conservatism? What role does it play? We're seeing like these very deep divisions within both of the two-party system, and how is it going to come out the other side? I think right now that's the reckoning that we have right now. I think that my kids will have a generational reckoning with violence in this country. I think that this is going to continue to escalate over the next 20 to 30 years. And unfortunately, I think my children that's going to be their great moral crisis of their generation.
I never thought of it like that. Whoa.
I mean, because we keep kicking the can and we're just, putting the Band-Aid on the wound, thoughts and prayers and, and then nothing happens. And it's the guns. No, it's mental health. It's this, it's that. And then no one ever, it's just, it goes round and round. And then they're not beholden to do anything. But I think eventually that's going to be exhausted and it's going to reach a crisis point where we're not going to be able to have that conversation anymore and people on both sides be satisfied. Either they're going to want to give teachers Uzis and have things in complete lockdown, or we're going to have to figure out a way to de-escalate violence in this country. And I don't claim to know the answer. I'm just saying
I don't know the answer either.
I can just see I can see where this is going, though.
Wow. I don't know. I just that school shooting this morning, it hit me in a way that I was not expecting, and I actually wept in the studio, and I just thought this country is so fucked up. I'm sorry. Come on, you guys.
I know. Well, I remember Columbine happened when I was in college.
Right.
And I just remember talk about shock and awe, right? Before we actually had shock and awe.
Yeah.
I guess no one had ever conceptualized and visualized that this could ever happen, that children themselves could plan, have access to these weapons and be able to pull off a whole strategy and to write manifestos and to have they choreographed it. I mean, it was on a scale of terrorism. It's domestic terrorism, but for 17-year-old kids to be able to go from start to, just have the idea to the complete execution of it, quite literally, it was just stunning. And I don't think that I've ever really quite processed that feeling, because each consecutive time I just feel like we're losing a little bit more of the soul of America when we allow these things to happen. That's
it. That's what it is.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because all you want to do is fix it, and you can't.
I have grandkids now, and so my perspective on life, my job was to get my kids through high school, have them do whatever they were going to do in life, and make sure that they were good human beings. But now I have grandkids, and now my perspective has changed.
Right.
Your kids are very precious to me. There's nothing I wouldn't do for them, and my whole perspective has changed.
Well, when I was talking to my aunt about this, I think we've talked about this on a couple of episodes prior, but when I'm talking to her about the school shooting thing, she said, well, in my generation, we were going under our desks for nuclear fallout.
Right.
Even though we found out later that there was going to be no protection under a desk from a nuclear bomb because it was during the Cold War. And so it really kind of puts things into perspective, is that there's this fear there where you never know where it's going to strike. And I think that now has manifested in gun violence in schools. It's the same feeling where you never know. And that produces a lot of anxiety for parents, and even the best of parents pass that along to their kids. There's no way that you can be that anxious about, worrying about your kid and whether or not they're going to be safe and not have that trickle into your kids. Even if you take conscious steps to not talk to them about it, try to hide it from them, it's going to trickle in. And we wonder why we're dealing with the most anxious, young generations of our time. I mean, this is just one of many, many issues that, that sort of explains that disconnect.
Yeah. What else is going? I mean, I don't know how to get out of this. I'm just.
Well, you want to talk about more local issues to distract you?
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, because
Campbell plant, baby.
There we go. Boom.
Boom. I told you that they were going to renew the order.
You did.
I think it was
remember
the day after we were taped. And I was like, yep. Yep. Here we go. And I expect this to be kind of in perpetuity until this gets sorted out in the courts, which could be
years.
Yeah. At least another year.
Oh, my gosh. When are we going to see our bill go up?
Well, from what I'm understanding is that they're trying to leverage it to rate payers, not just in Michigan, but across the subgrid. So the country is split up, I think, into like 5 or 6 different subgrids.
Okay.
We're on the MISO grid, MISO.
Yep.
It's Michigan. No, Mid-Continent Independent. I don't know. It's a big, long bureaucratic acronym. And I'm sorry, I think it's pronounced MISO. But anyway, they are going to leverage that across all of the ratepayers in that subregion, and it includes 16 states all the way down to Louisiana. And a slight portion of Canada. So I guess the silver lining is that it's going to be, spread out amongst all of us. But at $30 million in less than, 3 months, that's a lot of money.
Oh, my gosh.
It's a lot of money.
Wow.
And with no end in sight. So that bill's just going to continue to accumulate.
I don't know what to say to that. Wow.
Yeah.
Like you said last week, you said this was the right plant at the right time.
Yeah.
It just happened to just be the right plant at the right time.
Well, because I don't really. I asked an expert after the extension got issued. I said, "Do you think that this is going to be used as a template for other plants? That might be scheduled somewhere in the near future to be closed down?" And he said, "I'm not sure there's a plan." And I had to think about that. So as we're talking it through, he said, I think that this is more about appeasing a base that is very burn, baby, burn. They're climate deniers. This is something for the next generation to deal with, and it's not their problem because they're closer to death than they are to birth. And I guess all of those points are valid. I mean, it's more of a moral victory, and it gives you such a skeezy feeling that you are.
Ooh, skeezy. That's a good word.
You know what I mean? Like you're caught in the middle of this culture war that shouldn't have anything to do with culture. Like energy should not have anything to do with culture at all.
Yeah.
It's just practicality and economics. I mean, I don't understand why we have like strong feels about this either way.
Sylvia Rhodea had very strong feelings at the Board of Commissioners meeting.
It's a theme, yeah.
She gave a little speech, and Sylvia, if you're listening, you should go back and listen to yourself in that meeting. That's all I'm going to say.
Self-awareness is a great skill, life skill.
Because it's funny, because when President Biden was in the White House. Never heard his name hardly at all during those commissioner meetings.
Yeah.
Isn't
yeah.
that interesting?
Well, yeah, I think that it was most striking when they were talking about you're talking about the contract for the public health department,
Yes.
where they were arguing over the vendor.
Yes.
So really what the situation was is they're on the consent agenda, which is basically where the county staff has up to a certain financial limit, they can approve contracts, and the board just has to rubber stamp them. It's usually a really long list of contracts every month, and it gets pushed through committee, and then it goes in front of the full board. And really, this is routine. Mm-hmm. But what we have seen is every single month at the full board meeting, there's always one or two things that an Ottawa Impact Commissioner pulls off of that big list, and they just want to have this one tangential conversation about, well, this is for $20,000, and I'm sure that they do good work, and I support the end product of the work, but this one vendor, they went through DEI training once, or on their website they once said, and you're like, what are we doing? So in this particular case, it was a vendor, and the CEO on LinkedIn, which is not on his company website, had made some sort of a statement where the CDC was asking for certain information and data sets to be taken off of websites. And we all kind of know that that's a very uncomfortable conversation about what's going on at the CDC right now.
Right.
It doesn't necessarily mean that this is settled science or fact. It kind of means like who gets to control, how these agencies operate. And I think that that's very concerning to a lot of us, regardless of where you are on the ideology spectrum. And so then Rhodea gets into it a little bit with Doug Zylstra, because he says, well, if I'm getting you right, you want us to not have this vendor because he exercises free speech on a third-party website. Mm-hmm. And she said, well, this is LinkedIn, and so it's more business-oriented, and so he was speaking for the company. And Zylstra's like, well, was he? I mean, how do we know what was in his brain? And why is this applicable to this thing that we need to approve right now? And they need to spend this money that they were talking about. They need to spend it before the end of the fiscal year. And the county's fiscal year ends on September 30th. So if they don't approve it now, then they don't get the money, and the project doesn't happen. And what are we doing here? Like, we all have to just stop and have this moral argument about, whether or not somebody is in line with the Trump administration when we're making tiddly little bitty, financial decisions for the county. It's just...
It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
Look at this book I found. Okay.
What is that?
All right. Our WGHN studios, we're sharing our space now.
Mm-hmm.
So we moved down the hall, and this is a book called NBC Handbook of Pronunciations.
Ooh.
And it's
What year is it from?
1834. It was compiled by the National Broadcasting Company. So the first page I opened at the top, fascism, pronounced fascism. Or as our rebel-rouser Mac, fascism.
Fascism.
What happened to him, and where is he?
I have no idea.
All right,
I
need to reach out to him and make
he's
sure
in
that
Grand Haven somewhere.
Oh yeah, I just want to make sure
he was writing
okay.
a book, a sequel to a book that he wrote, because he gave me the first one, and I think he's writing a sequel to the second one.
Isn't this book? It's awesome. It has every single word in here. Maybe the word Nimrod. I bet you the word Nimrod's not in here. That's a great. I love using that word, Nimrod. Isn't that a great word?
I love old school digs. They're the best.
Do you? Mm-hmm. I like old cookbooks. I could read those all day. Let me see if the word Nimrod is in here. I bet you it's not. Nimrod. Nope, it's not in here.
I can't imagine that NBC would have that in their handbook.
Right. But they got fascist in there. All right, are you ready for the kids to go back to school?
I was ready the day after they got out of school.
I know.
Yep.
I know.
Yep.
It's time. It's time, isn't it? Mm-hmm. It's time. Yeah. It's time to send them back. We'll see how this all pans out. You've got kids at 3 different schools, and I know.
And 2 different timetables.
2 timetables and all kinds of stuff going on, while also working a job and trying to get everything done and dinner on the table by 5. please.
Yeah.
I haven't had dinner on the table. I eat.
I know.
3:30, 4 o'clock.
I mean, between tennis practice, that goes until 5, and
Yeah.
and then they, we have to share with the other household, and
Exactly.
so and that always is
it's a lot.
complex dynamic.
It is a lot.
Yep.
And so, yeah, hugs to you, because and this is another topic. I don't want to get into it right now, but I do want to talk about Social Security at some point, because I went onto my account with Social Security. I'm eligible now to collect if I wanted to. And I was looking at some years, and I went, what the heck was it? Oh, that's right. I decided to put my career on hold and work part-time and stay at home with my kids. And let me just say this. You decide to do that and then you get divorced, it ends up kicking you in the ass.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're not really rewarded much. I mean, just from the moment that you get pregnant.
No.
It's all of the doctor's appointments. You often have to juggle a job. And then when you have the baby, you have to go on short-term disability.
Yeah.
And then you exhaust whatever PTO, if you even have PTO at your job, so that you can get. My first baby was born January 4th. I exhausted all of my PTO in order to have 100% pay, because at the time, both my husband, my newborn, and myself were on my health care. And then I didn't have any sick time for the rest of the year. I mean, I worked it out with my employer, but it's just like, I mean, what are we doing? You're just going to give me 6 weeks and then...
Right.
And then I've got to basically give any kind of wiggle room that I have over just to survive at baseline.
I know.
Like, it's not like I went on vacation.
Right.
I was recovering from a C-section.
It's mind-blowing to me. And then I'm thinking about all the times that when the kids were sick, because my spouse at the time made 5 times what I made. I took it up. Oh, I'll stay home with them. No problem. Your job's more important than mine. Okay, well, maybe it was at that point, but then you throw divorce in there.
Right.
No wonder why so many women who are divorced live at the poverty level.
Right.
This is why.
Well, and I when I was at that Feeding America, announcement about the Fill the Gap, Feeding the Gap, they were saying that in droves, there's the highest number of women leaving the workforce right now because childcare is so high.
It's unbelievable.
And they're essentially, I think, just going on aid because they can't make enough at their jobs in order to make the economics work.
Right.
So they're just living in poverty and just hoping that they can get by until conditions improve.
And see, when I made that decision, I was like, why are my kids in childcare when so-and-so has a new job making really good money, which is well-deserved? We don't really need to be doing this. I've kind of done everything I wanted to do with my career. I consider that to be a fortunate position that I was in.
Right.
Okay, I'm not making light of that at all. But what I'm saying is, by doing that, I kind of shot myself in the foot because my socials. You look at what I made, and I'm like, I didn't even.
And your resume suffers too because the less experience that you have and those gaps that you have, I mean, those always work against you.
Being a woman is hard. I say that to my daughters all the time. And being a mom, throw that in there with a career. It's hard. And there are some women that make it look so easy.
I this morning it made me think of this. My middle one, Harper, she was eating a bagel with Nutella. It's her favorite breakfast.
Oh yeah, sure.
And she just gets this weird look on her face, and she's like, I think I'm losing a tooth. And so, we had to get the paper towel. And so the tooth is like halfway hanging out. And she's like, I'm going to bleed to death. And I said, just wait until your period. Then we'll talk about blood loss.
Okay. Isn't that a fact?
Well, and she's 10 now. So I have to start having those I have to start normalizing those conversations. And so I actually did say that because it's just like, let's just start the pre-commiseration party because I'm going to have 2 of you in the house and we're all going to want to kill each other once a month.
That's right. You are.
Thoughts and prayers.
I think I had 1 good week out of the month is how it went.
Well, and you tend to, if you're not on medication,
you tend to,
you tend to sync up. It's a whole thing. And I'm like, oh great, there's just going to be 3 cranky bitches in this house.
Remember that commercial? It went, I can bring home the bacon, fry it up in a pan. And never, ever, ever let you forget you're a man. Because I'm a woman, Ajali. It was for a perfume.
Oh, are you serious?
Oh, yeah, I'm
Oh my
100%
gosh.
serious.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
I can bring home the bacon, fry it up in a pan, and never, ever let you forget you're a man. For crying out loud. F that, pal. No. Okay. I think I've said enough. I don't know how many F-bombs I dropped on this podcast, but...
Dirk's going to have to get real creative with
you are going to have to get creative. Well, you can let them roll. We can let them roll, can't we? Can we throw F-bombs out there?
I mean, there's no rule against that in Substack. I mean, doesn't matter.
Okay, yeah. If you want
or YouTube.
If you want to bleep them out or use some of them that you think, works for the podcast, go
Really
ahead.
Good singer.
This has been 2 J's in a Pod. Who wants to take us out?
Is he coming? Oh, he says no. He doesn't want to do it.
Can I do it?
Yeah, go for it.
Cool. Hang on.